in the heart of West Africa, where the sun scorches the earth and the winds whip through parched lands, there lived a man whose rise defied the odds. His name was Ibrahim Traoré. From the moment he stepped into power, his eyes gleamed with a mix of determination and wisdom far beyond his years. To some, he was an enigma, but to others, a threat. A powerful leader who had united his people under the banner of justice and self-determination, he had become a symbol of defiance against foreign interference. Yet not everyone saw him as a hero. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the African landscape, a new chapter of Ibrahim's journey began. Far from his homeland in the cold, clinical chambers of a foreign intelligence office, a covert mission was being set in motion. ECOWAS, the regional organization, had grown weary of Ibrahim's defiant stand against their policies. They saw him as a liability, a thorn in the side of their carefully orchestrated agendas. In the shadows, they devised a plan to capture him, to break the will of the people, and to assert control once more. They would send their best agents, spies trained in the art of subterfuge and infiltration, to bring him down. But what they didn't anticipate was that Ibrahim Traoré was not a man to be captured. He was a force of nature, as wild and untamable as the land he ruled. And as the spies began their mission, they found themselves caught in a trap of their own making. Part 2. The quiet storm. It was a quiet night when they arrived. 3 men, expertly trained in espionage, each carrying the weight of their mission on their shoulders. Their task was simple: infiltrate, capture, and extract Ibrahim Traoré from his stronghold. They moved like shadows, their steps swift and silent as they navigated the terrain, eyes constantly scanning for signs of danger. However, what they didn't know was that Ibrahim had been expecting them. He had long known that enemies circled, that threats would come from within and from afar. Ibrahim was not a mere leader of men. He was a master of strategy, a tactician whose mind saw beyond the immediate. He had anticipated every move. As the spies made their way deeper into the heart of the country, they found themselves lost. The roads they had once known so well seemed to shift beneath their feet. The air was thick with tension, a sense of being watched that clung to them like a second skin. Every step they took, they were drawn further into the labyrinth of the land amaze that seemed to mock them with its vastness. And as the night wore on, their sense of unease grew. They had been told Ibrahim Traoré was merely a man who could be broken. They had underestimated the spirit of the people he led, the devotion of those who followed him. Ibrahim Traoré had become more than a leader. He was a symbol, a protector, a force that could not be tamed. Part 3. The confrontation. The morning broke with the rising sun casting long shadows across the land. As the spies continued their pursuit, they found themselves at the edge of a small village. It was here, in the dusty streets, that they were finally surrounded. The air was thick with the scent of burning wood and the sound of whispers. The villagers, though simple folk, knew the power of Ibrahim's presence. They had seen him walk among them, not as a ruler, but as one of their own, and they had sworn to protect him. From the silence, Ibrahim emerged, his figure cutting through the haze of morning like a beacon of defiance. His eyes locked onto the 3 spies, and in that moment, the entire continent seemed to hold its breath. "I know why you've come," Ibrahim said, his voice calm but filled with an unshakable certainty. His words were not of anger, but of understanding. He had seen the world for what it was, and he had learned to navigate its shadows. The spies, stunned by the tranquility in his voice, were momentarily disarmed. "We came to bring you down," one of the spies said, his voice wavering. He had expected to face a man trembling in fear, not the steely gaze of a leader who stood firm in his beliefs. Ibrahim stepped forward, each stride carrying the weight of his people's hopes. "You have come," Ibrahim replied softly, "but you will leave with a lesson." Part 4. The revelation. The villagers, though initially silent, began to chant. Slowly at first, then with more fervor, the chants grew louder. The spies, trapped by the collective will of the people, realized they were no longer in control. The land, the very earth beneath their feet, had become a prison for them. Ibrahim Traoré was not just a man. He was the embodiment of a spirit that could not be contained. "You think you've come to capture me," Ibrahim said, his voice rising above the chants. "But you have only captured yourselves. I am not the one in chains. You are." In that moment, the spies saw the truth. Ibrahim Traoré was not their enemy. He was the answer to a question they hadn't even known to ask. He was the symbol of freedom, of resistance, and of the power of the people. It was not just the spies who were changed that day. As the villagers stood together, united by their love for their leader, the earth seemed to shift beneath their feet. The land, which had once been barren, now pulsed with life. Ibrahim's message was clear. Resistance was not just a fight for power, it was a fight for the soul of a people. Part 5. The Reckoning. When the spies finally returned to ECOWAS, they were no longer the men who had set out to capture Ibrahim Traoré. They had seen the strength of the people, the unyielding will of a leader who could not be broken. They had seen what happens when a man stands firm in the face of oppression, and they knew they could never undo what they had witnessed. The truth had come too late for them. For Ibrahim Traoré, it was not just a victory, it was a reaffirmation of the promise he had made to his people. He was not a man to be controlled, and he would not bow to the will of those who sought to exploit his land. His strength was not in his fists, but in his heart, in the hearts of those who believed in him. And as the sun set once more over the African plains, Ibrahim Traoré stood tall, knowing that the battle was far from over. But in that moment, the continent knew the truth. He was unstoppable. Resolution and quiet closure, the story of Ibrahim Traoré's defiance spread like wildfire, igniting the hearts of those who had long felt powerless. His actions served as a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, a single person with the courage to stand firm could change the world. As the years passed, Ibrahim's legacy endured, not just in the pages of history, but in the hearts of the people. The spies who had once come to capture him now spoke of his strength, his unwavering resolve, and the profound impact he had left on the continent. And though the world around him continued to change, Ibrahim Traoré remained a beacon of hope, a symbol of what happens when the spirit of a people cannot be broken. Call to action for YouTube. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected courage. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs to hear this today.